When I was in grade school, I didn't have an alarm clock. And so my dad would always wake us up for school, and then he'd promptly go downstairs to make breakfast. Well, as any sleepy person knows, when your alarm clock is a person and that person is on a completely different floor, it's super easy to fall back asleep. And so I did many times until I heard it, Teresa. And that was a voice none of us could ignore. Did your parents do that? Use your legal name when you were in trouble and then your pet name when you were in their good graces? Mine was Tracy. Well, this week, a couple friends asked me, how do you hear God's voice? Great question. Jesus says in John 10:27, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. So I'll just share my experiences with this. Certainly, God speaks to us through his word. So when I read Proverbs 5:1 that says, listen well to my words of insight, I know God is clearly telling me, pay attention to what's in here. But what about when I need to buy a car? As far as I know, there's no verses in here on Chevrolets. This is when I listen to God's voice in my inner thoughts, in wise counsel from others, with internal peace, and I watch my circumstances. So, for example, if I like a car that is way more than I can afford and it would mean years of debt and put me in financial bondage, probably God is saying, not that one. In fact, last year when we were looking for a car for Brian, we were looking at some that were at a great price, but they had all kinds of hail damage, and we just didn't have a peace about it. The one that we did find was actually from BD Auto, which happens to be Brian's initials, Brian Dorak. I believe, and Brian believes, that was God. Now, I've had God say to me, Terry, open the door for that lady and greet her with a smile. And I really believe that God's speaking to me. So if it aligns with what's in God's word, I really can't go wrong. God also speaks through other people. One time I was crying about not getting a job in Wisconsin, which is where I really wanted to live. And my neighbor said, really? That's all the deeper your faith is? And boy, did God use that to speak to me. Not in a condemning way, but I did feel convicted. One time I was praying for something very specific that I really wanted God to provide. And God spoke to me very clearly through Luke 18:1. He said, Terry, keep praying. Don't give up. And so I did. And about a year and a half later, God answered that prayer. So learning to hear God's voice takes time and faith. But remember this, he promises that if we seek him, we will find him. So don't stop listening.